All right, and we're live for another episode of the Bitcoin Breakdown. I know it's been about a week since we did the last one. Just been pretty busy. I don't know about you guys. I think we've all been kind of busy here. Uh, Not too busy with the markets though. I mean, what have you been doing, Jason? It looks like
Uh,
Bitcoin's the next stable coin.
yeah, not a whole lot. Um, I did post in our room though. We booked some. Cardano was a little bit strong today, and so was Zero X. I think Zero X was up like 15% this morning.
Hmm.
So we booked a little bit there. Just trying to free up a little bit of cash, and just on these next pullbacks, trying to compound a little bit. I mean, some of these moves have been 8%, 12%
Yeah, yeah,
within the big picture wedge. I mean,
that's what it
I'll
looks like.
share the futures chart real quick. We're still largely just locked up, within this big picture wedge we've been talking about forever. The last lower high is still 7,400 ish, right there at the bands where we made some pretty good sales and actually went short a little bit of futures. And then I'm still watching 6,800 on the up. So on the hourly, you can still see it's pretty clear. You have the trend line coming into that same spot, and then it's just the resistance is all 6,800. If we can get above there, then maybe the market kind of will wake some people up.
So you think that 6,800 is a level to watch for now?
Yeah,
Or
near
just take a
term
quiet?
for sure. Near term for sure. And then if price gets above there, I mean, this would be a
Mhm.
great spot to make some more sales. Whether you want to hedge your futures a little bit or you're just long your book, the stuff that has a good move, you lighten up on that right when we're up here. But then if we get above it, you could always get back in or get more aggressive on the next 15-minute, 30-minute dips. But then we should look for a move back to the 7,400 if we can gain the 6,800 level. So, just let price prove itself. First
Mhm.
time up, want to be a seller. If it gets through there, then we'll obviously staying core long, and then we'll look for a move back to 7,400.
Yeah.
On the downside, it's last week's support was 6,300. As far as the front month futures, I actually said this last week that this was probably going to be the smallest volume as far as high to low range, and it was. So since futures started, last week was the smallest week as far as the range volatility within the week. So
Mhm.
pretty exciting.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of what it looks like. I mean, we're not really seeing much movement. Almost double digits on a few alts though right now for the
Yeah.
day.
Has there been any others that perked up? I mean, here's that move in Zero X. This is versus BTC, but pretty strong. I like that it got above pi. And then, like we talked about, with Ripple being kind of the first to start making higher highs in the longer term charts, like the daily, we're starting to
Mhm.
get the 4 hour charts to turn up. So Zero X it did it. Cardano wasn't quite there. Show you that real quick. I made a couple sales this morning right into pi here. But if it regain traction above pi, that's going to be pretty bullish because that's
Mhm.
indicative of a bull market once you get price above our pi line. It's been below it since, what is this, end of July? So that would be new on Cardano. There's some of those other alts are trying to do the same thing. You can almost see a wedge here too forming. I was looking at it in Ether. So I would like to see more of this, the hangout above here. And then if we get above here, that'll kind of coincide with BTC going back to 7,400. I'll just do the other majors, I guess, real quick here. See, Litecoin is trying to do it too. So Ether's still in this wedge. You can just kind of eyeball it, you know. It's kind
Yeah.
of flirting with that resistance right there. And then you still got to contend with pi. But Litecoin was a little bit more bullish this morning. On a relative value basis, it was pretty strong. But I was just noticing that we were kind of doing this and breaking that wedge this morning. And I like this candle here. So that's not a bad entry. Long, stop below this base. If you're looking for a swing trade, maybe we go trade back up here to 65. That's kind of stands out to me in Litecoin. What are your guys' thoughts?
They all kind of look the same. Yeah, I think you should be. I think people should be watching some of those like you said, Cardano, and then you have 0x making a 10% move.
Mm-hmm.
I think you got to watch those that are kind of moving a little bit outside the range. That everything else is kind of sitting in that range. Then you got to watch those that kind of pop up.
Yeah.
I've personally been pretty aggressively trading salt because that's been pretty great.
It has been
fantastic the past couple of weeks.
This is a pretty good setup right now. There's a strong move up.
That was almost 100% move.
We should actually buy this guy's right here.
Yeah.
We should add to that longs there. I like it.
It had a bit more than a 50% retrace, but I mean, I think that was bouncing right off the 68.
Yep.
So it is looking good.
Yeah, as long as you're above buy here, you got a good shot at some follow through. See if I can get it versus Tether. I like it. I like this candle right here. I'm going to add back while we're talking. Did you make any sales into $1? The buck?
Yeah.
Man, what is that spike?
That came shortly after the news last week that they were going to expand their collateral to include Litecoin. So you can now put up Litecoin as well.
Interesting.
For phones,
I missed that one.
Yeah.
I like this. There's another opportunity to add right here. What else is going on in the news?
I can share this real quick.
Take it out.
Yep. Well, I think it's kind of interesting too. If you're not an active trader, but you're still, you're an investor longer term. I couldn't think of a better chart to look at to figure out when you should be, you're averaging in here, with your dollar cost averaging. When you take a look at a chart like this, so this is the halvening, the months until the next halvening, which we saw right down here in 2016 where the halvening hit, which is about right here. So you kind of see what happens every time the Bitcoin mining reward got cut in half. I think it's kind of interesting chart to see just how clear everything is.
Yeah, and explain the logic to people behind that.
Yeah, so every so often the Bitcoin, what's the time interval? But every so many blocks, the mining reward gets cut in half. And a chart like this pretty much tracks each one. As you can see, the next one's lining up in 2020 here. So a little bit of basing here, which we might hit up before that. But I think it's kind of clear to show that we're pretty much due for another run, seeing how the last few halvenings really affected price. And then you tie the next halvening in at 2020 with looking at this chart right about where my cursor is. You have that tied in with any sort of financial recession or any other news items like that, which everyone's kind of lining up as that 2020 date. It seems like I can't imagine. I don't even know how many news articles I think we've been reading about who's been saying what, and they all kind of coincide with that 2020 date. Mm-hmm. So the last recession, Bitcoin was born. So it'd be kind of interesting to see that lining up with the halvening, I think. But
and we were talking about it earlier that the price almost has to increase in order for the network to maintain its current levels, because as soon as the halving hits, all of a sudden all these giant mining operations are half as profitable at the exact same price that it sits at. So that's why every time after we've had this halving hit, we see a pretty significant increase in price. And this, obviously, they only have to increase the price twofold in order to break even with what it was before that. But we're seeing much higher gains than a 2x. Mm-hmm. This is anywhere from 10 to 100x after these happen. So if we don't see a move like that happening when we do have the next one, we're going to see a bit of I think that we'll see a bit of an issue with the mining network, just because it's not going to be profitable. And if the price doesn't increase along with it, that's the inevitable fallout of it. So,
and you think of the next halving is far away, but I mean, that's going to be the biggest news item in Bitcoin for 4 years. So, and it's only coming up in 19 months now. So I think it's kind of interesting to watch. I think it'd be interesting to watch this chart the next few months to see really what the start's looking like. If it does base, maybe it dips a little bit lower. And if it keeps dipping a little bit lower, it's, judging by the past, you can kind of tell it's only going to go so far. Obviously, it's, past, it's not indicative of future results, but just looking at a chart like that, when you have that kind of data, I don't know. I thought it was kind of interesting to see that chart.
Yeah, for sure. Where did something we should follow more?
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, I don't even know how you actually plot that. I don't know. But really, it shows, I think, you got one more year to really accumulate what you want for the long term. But that's kind of
that was the other thing. I think I put it up on Twitter last week, that the way that everything works out, that even if you only have like 0.3 Bitcoin, you are in the 1% if Bitcoin goes to full adoption, just because of the way that the numbers work out with how much Bitcoin is forever lost or is never going to be accessed again. And the sheer number of people in the world, that 0.28 Bitcoin puts you far ahead of anyone else. And if you have over 1 Bitcoin, you're in like the 0.02%.
Well,
population.
Right now, the amount of Coinbase, not every Coinbase user can own a whole Bitcoin. There's not enough Bitcoin for every Coinbase user.
That just tells you how skewed the supply and demand is already.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so when you think of the fact that you can buy into Bitcoin for, $6,500 right now, and you own more than anyone else, like it's absurd. Even if you don't think it's gonna work out in the long run, it's $6,500. If you can afford to take that gamble, it can pay off huge.
Yeah, it's like I was reading like this whole rationale. It's a long Medium article. I'll have to share it, but is like the risk of losing out on that potential gain offsets any sort of risk on losing that, just because of how exponentially high that can go into the hundreds of thousands of dollars.
And if you think about it like gold, we've had a lot of dollar devaluation in the last 50 years. Well over half of the buying power has just vanished, U.S. dollar. And so, you look at just how fast oil went from 20 or 30 bucks to 70. So that's probably the biggest, that's the biggest piece of the inflation picture. And people driving around every day, their costs already doubled in the last year. And gold isn't going to go to, it's not going to be 100,000 unless everything else explodes in price. But BTC, you buy gold down here at 1,200, maybe you double. But BTC, you could go 10x.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's like, you look at that and it's like, well, I guess if you wanted some physical in case the lights go out and, the electric grid isn't, we're back to Mad Max scenario. But other than that, you'd rather be long BTC, I think, if you're trying to see something really go up in value.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I don't see the next generation buying gold because I think it's going to go to 100,000.
No, that just won't happen. just won't happen at all. I mean, when you think about how quickly these trends and everything is just going so digital, and people are growing up now digitally. I mean, I grew up with everything was digital. You know,
You'd be like, what's a silver eagle? Most people probably have no idea. You ask them what Litecoin is, I bet that they know Litecoin before they know what a silver eagle is.
yeah, I think it's kind of funny. Interestingly enough, I think there was one point in my life when I was young enough where I valued digital currency more than I valued dollars.
Yeah.
Just playing video games when I was like 12 years old. You know, you value that in-game currency more than you do dollars when you're that age, which is kind of funny. You know,
Yeah, that makes sense.
15, 10,
Or my
10
fruit roll-up. My
15
fruit
years
roll-up
ago.
was pretty valuable.
Exactly. Yeah, but I mean, I'm talking digital. I think it's kind of interesting. But I mean, I think that's really about it. Kind of ran through the markets. Not much is moving. Like I said, open the show, Bitcoin's the next stable coin.
Yeah.
I mean, if
And
that's
this
good or
is a
bad, like
slow
you
day,
said,
bank holiday. I mean, the FX is not doing much. Stocks are quiet.
yeah, Columbus Day, and it's Thanksgiving in Canada too.
Good point.
But
Canadian
it should be
brother.
interesting to watch. That 6,800 is what you're watching then, the short term.
Yep.
Just to leave it on that note, watch that 6,800 and everything else. Just kind of pay attention to what's popping up. I mean, everything else is about single to 5%, and you get 0x popping up to 10.
Yeah.
That's really about it.
And I just added back to some more salt. So let's see if we can take another run back to the highs.
Okay.
It's probably the best idea for everybody jumping on today.
Yep. Well, all right. Good show. We'll try to make this a little bit longer next time. Hopefully, Bernie can join us. I want to talk about these security tokens.
Yeah, for sure.
So that'll be our next subject, security tokens, guys. So tune in.
Okay, boys.
All right.
See you guys.
See ya.